When it comes to old games, we can often find some strange secrets and mysteries hiding within them. And if we look hard enough, we may even be able to figure out what's going on. Sometimes we'll find a secret boss whose existence itself is a mystery. Other times, we may find hints related to a secret that may not even exist, forcing us to dive into rabbit holes that lead nowhere. And then, there are some secrets that are hidden behind such convoluted, bizarre methods that it seems pretty obvious that there must have been something really wrong with the people who came up with them. Back in the day, if you didn't know about them and someone came up to you and told you what you had to do to unlock these secrets, you would probably call them a liar and kick them in the diddly while simultaneously spitting on their forehead. Some time ago, we looked into the secrets of Monster Rancher 1. There were a few in there that were pretty crazy and took a long time for people to figure out. And today, we are gonna take a look into the sequel, Monster Rancher 2. This game is considered by many to be the peak of the entire franchise. It's definitely my favorite Monster Rancher game of all time. Over the years, I've sunk a lot of time into it. I usually train pixies whenever I can. I can't really explain why I'm drawn to them. There's just something captivating about them. Anyway, there are a lot of secrets in Monster Rancher 2. Many of them are quite easy to unlock, and you'll just get them as you play through the game. But there are a few that fall into the category of how in the monkey balls was someone supposed to figure this out? Ones that require leaps of logic that make no sense whatsoever. And today, I'm gonna tell you about the most convoluted ones of them all. So I hope you've got your snacks and about 69 liters of Pepsi ready, because it's time for you to learn about the most bizarre, convoluted secrets of Monster Rancher 2. Alright then, there are two specific secrets that I want to talk about. But before we get into them, here's a secret that can be considered as an honorable mention. As you continue playing this game, you will, over time, gain access to certain medication that you can give to your monster. They are actually quite similar to ones certain athletes make use of. You know, to go beyond what their bodies are capable of. In real life, for the most part, you aren't allowed to use these substances, especially during competitive activities. Even generally, their usage is frowned upon, as these items can often lead to severe consequences health-wise. They can even shorten your lifespan if you're not careful. But if you've always wanted to gain some kind of competitive edge with these substances, but never had the chance to do so in real life, then you'll be glad to know that you can do just that in Monster Rancher 2. To be fair, you could do this in the first game too, but the sequel takes it to the next level. Most of these items will eventually be unlocked in the item shop, and some can also be won from certain tournaments. There are essentially two types of these items. Items like Nagil or Kaseitan inject temporary stats into your monster for a week, giving it the boost and confidence it needs for a major tournament. Then there are items like Troron or Larox, which inject your monster with permanent stats. After your monster has been given a dose of them, every successful drill will add on the bonus stats automatically for a whole month. Both types do, obviously, come with a substantial drawback. Nagil, for example, reduces your monster's lifespan by a whopping 20 weeks. With the average lifespan of a monster being about 400 weeks, you're basically taking away 5% of their entire life for one tournament. But maybe that tournament is really important to you, more important than your monster's health and well-being. Troron and the other items like it come with a less devastating effect, but do still reduce lifespan. The permanent stats that are gained through these specific items aren't particularly noteworthy though. The stats they provide simply don't offset the lifespan hit your monster would take. It's probably best to avoid these specific substances. But I know what you're thinking. Editor man, you promised us crazy weird secrets. These items, as awesome as they might be, are easy to get. What gives? Well, I was just about to get to that. While all the items I've talked about so far can be acquired pretty easily, seeing as the dealers who provide them are very accessible, there is one more item which you have to do a lot more work to get. The game will never mention it in any capacity. You have to find it on your own. As your monster's rank goes up, you will eventually be able to go to expeditions to faraway places. The first of these will become available after your monster gets to rank D. Dr. Teleco will visit your ranch on the first week of June, wishing to take your monster on an adventure to the Kauria volcano. Going on this expedition is necessary to unlock all the other ones. Next, you'll need to get your monster to rank C or higher, with 210 or more life and 50 or more fame. With those conditions met, on the first week of February, Rovist, the son of Dr. Teleco, will visit the ranch. He wants to take your monster to the Torless Mountains. That's where we need to go to find the ultimate body enhancement medication. The monster you send on this expedition will need to have a minimum of 700 intelligence to find it though. That is quite a lot, so make sure you train it properly beforehand. This is a pretty massive area, and there are a ton of locations that can be investigated. Honestly, if you come here without a guide, you'll most likely end up completely and hopelessly lost. But luckily for you, Editorman is here to be your guide. The item we're looking for can only be found in one location here, and it's kinda easy to miss. Thankfully, it's very close to the entrance. When you examine the place, Rovist will say, "This is a big cave. I can easily imagine a monster or something is living in it." Sure, why not? Now, here's the kicker. Even if your monster does have the required intelligence, it still only has a 12.5% chance of finding what we are looking for. But if you do get lucky enough, your monster will find the item Paradoxine. Rovist says that apparently it was stolen during the development period. But then he goes on to say that it's one of the most popular medicines among trainers. So how does that work? I don't know what Rovist is on, but he is definitely on something. I mean, look at his eyes. There's something evil lurking behind those eyes. Who knows, maybe Rovist was the one who stole this in the first place. That would explain why he tried to scare us by saying that there might be a monster living in there. Was he trying to keep us away from his stash? That's definitely a theory worth thinking about, I would say. Back home, if you check the description for Paradoxine, it says that it is supposedly stronger than Troron, but the truth is unknown. Well, that is the truth, actually. This is an absolutely busted item compared to the lowly Troron. Paradoxine gives a massive plus 30 to power and skill for every successful drill for a month. That is a lot. It does come with some heavy drawbacks though. Your monster will also get a minus 10% to both speed and defense during those drills, along with a hefty 18 weeks of lost lifespan. The best way to use it would be to put your monster on it early in its life, when the stat gains are really bad anyway. This will supercharge the gains instantly. Who cares about speed or defense, if you can just one-shot everything, right? And even if you do care about the speed or defense, you can get those stats back later on, when your monster starts getting better gains. Every time you run out, you will have to go back to the Torless Mountains for a supply run. I think you can find more than one Paradoxine per visit, but I'm not entirely sure about that. In any case, I find the whole thing really funny. Why did they put this in a game like this? What were they trying to say? When hard work and determination just isn't enough, try Nagil to make the most of that one opportunity, to capture the moment, to seize the day. Not getting the gains that you deserve? Well, we've got exactly what your muscles need. Ask your trainer if Paradoxine is right for you. I don't know, it just seems like the kind of thing you shouldn't be advertising in a game like this. Also, here's something else that's pretty strange. You have to choose what to feed your monster at the beginning of the month. Do you know what the best possible food is in this game? Is it milk? No. It's not meat or fish either. The best possible food that you can feed your monster is tablet. Yeah, the game considers tablets to be the most objectively healthy food. So what's inside those tablets? Who knows? It makes me wonder, was the Monster Rancher franchise funded by some kind of pharmaceutical company in any capacity? Anyway, back to Paradoxine. Here's the crazy thing about the rare items in this game. Even if your monster does have a high enough stat, they could still fail to get them. When your monster enters a location during an expedition, you can see how many items are in there. Even if a rare item is only supposed to be in a specific location, and even if your monster cleans the entire place out, you could just not find the rare item. So unless you were following a guide and knew about this, It is completely possible for you to find the right place with a highly intelligent monster by your side and still miss out on getting the item you need. Can you imagine how many people may have found something cool back in the day, told people about it online, only to be called a liar when other players couldn't replicate their results? In Monster Rancher 1, as far as I know, there wasn't a limit on how many items you could find in a place. Sure, the first game had its own ridiculous gimmick, where your monster could just get lost somehow. But at the very least, the game didn't gaslight you into thinking that the item that is supposed to be there isn't there. In any case, if you're tired of raising your monster the old-fashioned way, like a good boy, then maybe it's time to try a more modern way by injecting them with some fresh science. You'll finally be able to get the buff, muscular mommy pixie that you always dreamed of. Alright then, it's time to talk about the really convoluted stuff. This one involves one of the monthly food items. In Monster Rancher 1, there were only 3 monthly food items that you could choose from for your monster. A few more were added in the sequel, with cup jelly being one of them. They aren't as effective as tablets, but then again, what could possibly be more delicious and nutritious than tablets? Anyway, as you continue to feed these cup jellies to your monster, there is a random chance to find a diamond mark. Colt will make a mention of it whenever one is found. The goal is to collect 5 of these marks. You can save and reload over and over until you find one on any given month. They are kinda rare though, so if you want to get them all the legit way, you might end up waiting for a very long time. Once you find all 5, Colt will send them out, and after a few weeks, you'll receive a fun can in the mail. Colt will open up the can and find a bunch of wooden pieces, along with some instructions apparently. Once she puts them all together, you'll get the Quack doll. Although I'm not sure how the pieces are being held in place here. There's literally space between the pieces. But Colt is like, yeah, looks good to me. Pretty cute doll, huh? Your monster will then ask for the doll. You could give it to them if you want to, although it's not a great item for them to have. The doll will reduce their stress, but increase their fatigue substantially. It could be because they tired themselves out while playing with the doll. Or maybe they're using the doll in an unintended manner. If you decide to keep it, then it'll be added to your inventory. The description says, this wooden bird-like doll must be built by hand. Okay, cool. On a side note, as you play through the game, you'll eventually find or be given items that are meant to be used as a secret seasoning while combining 2 monsters. Doing so will allow you to unlock a hidden monster. For example, if you use the Phoenix Feather while combining any 2 monsters, the result will always be the Phoenix. So are you supposed to do that with this Quack doll? No, you're not. The game won't even tell you anything about what you're supposed to do next. The only hint is the doll itself. As you can see, it's not put together properly, even if Colt disagrees. If only we had some sort of adhesive that could help with that. Well, there's nothing like that in the shop, so what now? Well, next, we have to go to the Torless Mountains again. Here, we have to go to a very specific tree. The item we're looking for will only appear if we have already made a Quack doll before. So if you visit the place before getting a fun can, you won't find anything. Not even a clue telling you that you're supposed to come back here later. Anyway, the item we're looking for is not as difficult to find as the Paradoxine. And what do we find? It's a glue stick. Yeah, this is the only glue stick in the entire game. Rovist will mention that there is some artwork of a Quack doll on the stick. What a coincidence! But why the diddly is it here, in this random tree in the mountains? Well, the game refuses to elaborate. And then, Rovist gets that insane look in his eyes again, and goes on to say, glue the Quack doll onto a monster with this glue stick to reproduce the monster? I know what you're all thinking. Editor man, what the duck is he talking about? I guess this is what happens when you take too much Paradoxine. Anyway, now that we have the glue and the Quack doll from earlier, you'd think that the next step would be pretty obvious. We just have to combine the 2 items together, right? Wrong again. What the game wants you to do is get 5 more diamond marks from the cup jellies and get a brand new fun can after getting the strong glue. So you'll have to shove a bunch of more cup jellies into your monster. After you get your second fun cup, this time Colt will use the glue while putting the Quack doll together. This item can now be used while combining any two monsters to get the hidden one. Yup, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. There is absolutely no reason why the glue couldn't be used on the previous doll. The game doesn't even care enough to change the description of the new Quack doll in any way. As far as the game is concerned, they're basically the same item. And what do you get for doing all this? You unlock the Duckin! Yay! The lab guy apparently has never seen glue before. And I guess as soon as he got one sniff of it, he was like, yeah, I'll have to study this privately. I'm gonna be straight with all of you. I've always found Duckin to be one of the most unintentionally creepy things I've ever seen. Maybe it's the eyes, or maybe it's the way its face moves. I don't know. All I know is that I don't want to be near this thing. And here's a fun fact. Did you know that you can't even get rid of the strong glue, even if you wanted to? Even if you try to sell it, Colt will say, we can't part with this. Maybe it's a joke or something, as in, we are stuck with the glue stick. Get it? But it was probably unintentional, because it can be gotten rid of in the modern DX port of the game. You can continue to get more fun cans, and any future dolls will be the glued Quack dolls, so you can get as many Duckins as your heart desires. Just try not to stare too deeply into its eyes. And finally, we need to talk about worms. In Monster Rancher 1, there was a special event that could only be unlocked through a worm. You had to meet some very precise conditions though. The worm needed to be over 3 but under 4 years old. Its grade could not be higher than C, and it needed to have a loyalty of over 80. Then, on the 4th week of June, if it had no stress or fatigue, it would go into a cocoon. Soon, the cocoon would explode, and a new monster would emerge that had worm as the subbreed. There were a variety of monsters that could be acquired this way, and they got a nice chunk of lifespan added on too. The cocooning process returns in Monster Rancher 2, with a minor change. Now, the worm has to be over 4 but under 5 years old. Even the grade requirement is still there, which has never made sense to me. Why is the grade a factor at all? Well anyway, once again, on the 4th week of June, if the worm is really well rested and ready, it will go into a cocoon. And after some dialogue, a new monster will emerge, like before. The game, obviously, doesn't really make any mention about any of this. The only hint I've been able to find about the cocooning process at all is in the description of red worm, which can be acquired through the combination of a worm and a pixie. The description says, it may emerge as a beautiful monster once in a while. And that's it. I don't know about the beautiful part though, but sure. But what if I told you that there was more to the cocooning process in this game? You see, back when the game first came out, there were rumors of a special monster that could be acquired through the cocoon. Not a monster with the worm subbreed, but something new entirely. There was a lot of discussion about what needed to be done. Most people thought that there was an element of randomness to it. Maybe the special new monster just had a really low chance of emerging from the cocoon. Others thought that there was more to it than that. Maybe something special had to be done to the worm in order to get it. Many believed that the worm had to be kept stress-free for the entirety of its life. Not a very easy thing to do, unless you knew exactly what you were doing. Eventually, the dedicated player base figured it out. There indeed was a hidden factor involved. You had to give your worm a certain item. If you didn't, then you would only ever get a worm subbreed from the cocoon, even if all the other conditions were met. So what was this special item? Was it paradoxine or something like that? That would have made more sense, but no. The item was the cup jelly. All roads always lead back to the jelly apparently. You had to feed your worm cup jelly. And not just one. Oh no. You had to feed it 30 or more cup jellies during its life. What in the diddly does the cup jelly have to do with anything? Why is it involved in the unlocking process of multiple hidden monsters? There are no answers, my friends. There is only cup jelly. And if you meet the cup jelly requirement alongside the other ones, then a Peaklon will emerge from the cocoon. Guaranteed. Is this the beautiful monster that the red worm's description hinted at? I guess beautiful is one way to describe that. Colt and Pabs will both be shocked by what just happened. And after some more dialogue, you'll be able to train your very own Beaklon. Well, technically, it's still the same worm it was before on the inside, in terms of stat gains and stuff like that. So if you want to train a proper Beaklon, then you'll have to get a new one. I don't know why they chose the cup jelly for this. Do bugs or worms in Japan enjoy cup jellies or something? Is there a cultural thing that I'm missing here? If you know anything more about this, do let me know in the comments. While there are a lot of other secret monsters that can be unlocked in this game, these were the most convoluted ones in my opinion. Finding the glue stick in some random tree is bad enough on its own, but to feed 30 plus cup jellies to a worm and then meet the other requirements to have it cocoon on the 4th week of a specific month? That's a bit much. I mean, if you played the first game and knew about the cocooning process, then at least it would make sense for you to try it out in the sequel. But even then, how would you figure out the thing about the cup jellies? Then again, I guess that's part of why we love these old games, right? The absurd, nonsensical secrets hiding within them do have a certain insane charm, I suppose. So what are your favorite secrets from this game? Are you a fan of Monster Rancher 2? Or do you prefer one of the other games in the franchise? On a scale from 1 to 10, how beautiful do you think the Beaklon is? Do let me know everything in the comments. Anyway, if you do end up unlocking both Duckin and Beaklon, then you may get the itch to see what happens if you combine them. But be warned, because if you do, you will end up with an abomination that was never meant to see the light of day. Colt, upon witnessing its unholy creation, will say, "I am glad of its trouble-free birth." If this thing isn't the dark messiah of the end times, then I don't know what is. Keep your doors and windows locked tonight, in case the Ducklon tries to pay you a visit. Here's hoping for a trouble-free 2026 for all of us. Happy New Year, and I'll see you all next time.